Lee Tae-ho stepped off the transport ship and looked around the massive space station. Everything was bigger than he had expected. The walls curved high above his head, and strange lights pulsed in colors he had never seen before. Other beings walked past him, some tall and thin, others short and covered in fur. None of them looked like humans. He pulled his bag closer to his shoulder and checked the small device in his hand. The map showed he needed to go to level 7 for student registration. As he walked through the corridors, he noticed how other students stared at him. Some whispered to their friends, others just pointed and kept walking. The Galactic Learning Institute was the best school in this part of the galaxy. Only the smartest students from each world could come here. Tae-ho still could not believe he had been chosen. He was one of only 3 humans ever accepted into the xenobiology program. At the registration desk, a tall blue creature with 4 arms handed him a tablet. The words appeared in perfect Korean, which surprised him. "Welcome, human Lee Tae-ho," the creature said through a small translator box. "I am receptionist Quinn. Your room assignment is in Block C Level 5. Classes begin tomorrow." Tae-ho thanked the receptionist and followed the signs to his room. The hallways were full of students. Most of them were smaller than him, with big eyes and nervous movements, but some were much larger, with sharp teeth and claws. These ones walked with confidence while the smaller students moved out of their way. His room was small but clean. A bed, a desk, and a wall screen that showed information about the station. Tae-ho unpacked his few belongings and sat on the bed. For the first time since leaving Earth, he felt truly alone. A soft beep came from his door. When it opened, a woman in a blue uniform smiled at him. She looked human, which made Tae-ho feel much better. "Hello?" she said in Korean. "I'm Kang So-min. I work in communications here on the station. I wanted to welcome you personally." Tae-ho stood up quickly and bowed. "Thank you. It's good to meet another human." So-min laughed. "I know how you feel. I've been here for 2 years and it still feels strange sometimes. How was your trip?" "Long," Tae-ho said. "But I'm excited to start classes. This place is amazing." "It is," So-min agreed. "But I should warn you about something. Not all species here are friendly to humans. Some think we don't belong in the galaxy, yet." Before Tae-ho could ask what she meant, another beep came from the door. This time a large reptilian creature entered without being invited. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, with green scales and yellow eyes. 2 smaller versions of the same species followed behind it. "So this is the new human," the large creature said. Its voice was deep and rough. "I am Vextar. These are my clutchmates, Thresk and Nixval." Tae-ho could feel the tension in the air. So-min stepped slightly behind him, and he noticed her. Hand moved toward the communication device on her belt. "Hello," Tae-ho said politely. "I'm Lee Tae-ho." Vextar looked him up and down slowly. "You seem small for a predator species. Are you sure you're ready for classes here?" "I'm ready," Tae-ho replied calmly. Vextar's yellow eyes narrowed. "We shall see. The xenobiology program is very difficult. Many students fail in their first week." He turned and left, his clutchmates following close behind. So-min let out a breath she had been holding. "Those are saurids. They come from a desert world where only the strongest survive. They don't like humans much." "Why not?" Tae-ho asked. "They think we're too soft, too weak. They respect only strength and hunting ability." So-min checked her communication device. "I have to get back to work, but be careful around them. They've caused problems for other students before." The next morning, Tae-ho found his first class. Introduction to Galactic Species. The classroom was huge, with seats arranged in a circle around a raised platform in the center. Students of many different species filled the room. Some had fur, others had scales or smooth skin. A few looked like walking trees. The professor was unlike anything Tae-ho had ever seen. It looked like it was made of light itself, with a body that seemed to shift and flow like water. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I am Professor Nal Doran," it said. "Today we will discuss the evolution of intelligence across different worlds. Tai-Ho took careful notes as the professor explained how different species develop different types of intelligence. Some were good at mathematics, others at art or music. Some species were naturally peaceful, while others were born hunters. Now, Professor Naldoran said, "Let us hear from our newest student. Human Lee Tai-Ho, please tell us about your species development." Tai-Ho stood up nervously. All eyes in the room focused on him. Humans developed on Earth about 200,000 years ago. We learned to use tools and work together in groups. We spread across our entire planet and developed technology. Vextar raised his clawed hand. "Professor, if I may ask a question?" "Of course, Student Vextar. How can such a primitive species be accepted into this program? Humans only reached space travel recently. They have no experience with other worlds or species." Several students made sounds that Tai-Ho thought might be laughter. His face grew warm, but he kept his expression calm. Professor Naldoran's light form flickered. "All species were once primitive, Student Vextar. Intelligence takes many forms." "But surely," Vextar continued, standing to his full height, "there should be minimum standards. Humans are clearly prey animals. Look at their small size, their weak bodies, their lack of natural weapons. They survived on their world only by running away and hiding." More sounds of agreement came from around the room. Tai-Ho felt anger building inside him, but he forced himself to stay quiet. "Your point is noted," Professor Naldoran said. "However, this program judges students by their ability to learn, not by their species' physical traits." Vexitar bowed, his head respectfully to the professor, but his eyes remained fixed on Tai-Ho. "Of course, Professor. I simply worry that some students may not be prepared for the challenges ahead." The class continued, but Tai-Ho found it hard to concentrate. He could feel other students looking at him, whispering to each other. When the class finally ended, most students quickly left the room. A few stayed to talk with the professor. As Tai-Ho packed his notes, a small furry creature approached him. It had large, frightened eyes and spoke in a very quiet voice. "I am Yimtal," it said. "I wanted to say that I thought your presentation was good. Do not listen to Vextar. He says mean things to many students." "Thank you," Tai-Ho said. "That's kind of you." Yimtal looked around nervously. "Just be careful. Saurids do not forget when someone challenges them, and they do not like to lose face in front of others." Before Tai-Ho could ask what that meant, Yimtal hurried away. Tai-Ho was left alone in the empty classroom, wondering what he had gotten himself into. 3 days had passed since Tai-Ho's first class. Each day brought new challenges as he tried to keep up with the advanced technology and complex lessons. The other students continued to stare and whisper whenever he walked by. Some seemed curious about humans, but most just seemed to think he didn't belong there. Vextar and his clutchmates made things worse whenever they could. They would sit behind Tai-Ho in classes and make comments about primitive species just loud enough for him to hear. During group projects, other students often avoided working with him after seeing how the Saurids reacted. But Professor Naldoran seemed impressed with Tai-Ho's work. In their latest class about evolutionary adaptation, Tai-Ho had given a detailed presentation about how humans learn to survive in different environments on Earth. The professor had praised his research and given him top marks. This made Vextar even angrier. After class that day, Tai-Ho was walking back to his room when he heard heavy footsteps behind him. He turned to see Vextar approaching with several other students, including his 2 clutchmates and a few students from species Tai-Ho didn't recognize. "Human," Vextar said, blocking the hallway. "We need to talk." Tai-Ho stopped walking but didn't step back. "What about?" "About your place here," Thresk said from Vextar's left side. "You're making other students uncomfortable." "How?" Tai-Ho asked calmly. Vexitar moved closer. Even though Tai-Ho was not short by human standards, the Saurid towered over him. "You act like you belong here, but everyone knows humans are new to the galaxy. You have no real experience with dangerous species or hostile environments." "I'm here to learn," Tai-Ho said. "Same as everyone else." "Are you?" Nixaval asked with a hissing laugh. Because it looks like you're here to pretend you're something you're not. Several other students had stopped to watch the confrontation. Most kept their distance, but Taeho could see they were listening to every word. "I don't understand what you want from me," Taeho said. Vexitar's yellow eyes gleamed. "I want you to admit the truth. Humans are prey animals. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. You survived on your world by being clever and hiding. But here in the real galaxy, clever prey animals don't last long." "That's not true," Taeho replied. "Isn't it?" Vextar spread his arms wide. "Look around you. Every real predator species in the galaxy has claws, teeth, poison, or some other natural weapon. What do humans have? Soft skin and weak muscles." Some of the watching students made sounds of agreement. Taeho felt his face getting hot, but he kept his voice steady. "Humans survived on Earth for thousands of years. We built cities, developed technology, and reached the stars. That takes more than just hiding." Vextar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the walls. "Earth must be a very safe world if such weak creatures could survive there." "Earth isn't safe," Taeho said quietly. "Really?" Vextar's voice was full of mockery. "Then prove it. Next week's practical class is about predator behavior. I'll bring something special to show everyone what real predators look like. Then we'll see how brave humans really are." Before Taeho could ask what he meant, Vextar and his group walked away, leaving him standing alone in the hallway. That evening, Taeho called Somin using the communication system in his room. Her face appeared on the wall screen, looking concerned. "You seem upset," she said. "What happened?" Taeho told her about the confrontation with Vextar and the threat about next week's class. Somin frowned. "That doesn't sound good. Saurids sometimes bring creatures from their homeworld to demonstrate their superiority over other species. I've heard stories about it happening at other schools." "What kind of creatures?" Taeho asked. "Dangerous ones," Somin said. "Their world is full of predators that make Earth's animals look harmless. I could talk to the professors or maybe get you transferred to a different class." "No," Taeho said firmly. "I'm not running away." Somin studied his face through the screen. "Taeho, these creatures aren't like anything on Earth. They're designed by evolution to be perfect killers. Even the Saurids treat them with extreme caution." "I understand," Taeho said. "But if I run away now, I'll never be able to show my face in class again. Besides, it's just a classroom demonstration. There will be safety protocols." "I hope you're right," Somin said. She looked worried, but she didn't try to change his mind. After ending the call, Taeho sat in his room thinking. He opened his personal tablet and sent a message to Earth, to his friend Park Jinwoo, who worked in the space program. "Jinwoo, I need a favor. Remember that package we talked about before I left? The one for emergencies? I need you to send it to me as fast as possible. And Jinwoo's add the videos we discussed during survival training. All of them." The next few days passed slowly. Taeho attended his classes and tried to concentrate on his studies, but he could feel tension building. Word about Vextar's challenge had spread throughout the student body. Some students seemed excited about the upcoming demonstration. Others looked nervous. Yimtal approached him again after xenobiology class. "I heard what Vextar plans to do," the small creature said, looking around nervously. "You should not go to class next week. Saurid predators are not like Earth animals. They exist only to hunt and kill." "What exactly is he bringing?" Taeho asked. Yimtal's fur stood up all over his body. "Probably a shadow maw. They are the apex predators on the Saurid homeworld. Nothing hunts them. Nothing escapes them. Even adult Saurids fear them." "Then why would he bring one to class?" "To prove his point," Yimtal whispered. "To show everyone that humans cannot face real predators. The creature will be contained, but just being near it will make you freeze with fear. All prey species do. It is instinct." That evening, Taeho received a message that his package had arrived at the station. He went to the cargo bay to pick it up. The container was larger than he had expected and marked with several warning labels. Back in his room, he opened the package carefully. Inside were items that Jinwoo had collected from museums and research centers on Earth: fossilized bones, photographs, video files, and a small holographic projector. Tai-ho spent the next hour reviewing the contents. Each item brought back memories of his childhood on Earth, of stories his grandfather had told him about their ancestors, of documentaries he had watched about human history. By the time he finished, he was smiling. His tablet chimed with another message from So-min. I heard about Vextar's plan. The professors know about it and will have full safety measures in place. But Taeho, promise me you'll be careful. Don't try to be a hero. Taeho typed back, don't worry. I think it's time these students learn something about humans they don't know yet. 3 more days until the practical class. Taeho spent the time preparing, studying the videos Jinwoo had sent, and practicing with the holographic projector. When other students asked if he was scared, he just smiled and said he was looking forward to it. The night before the class, Vextar cornered him in the dining hall. Last chance to back out, human, the Saurid said. Tomorrow you'll embarrass yourself in front of everyone. Prey animals always do when they meet real predators. Taeho looked up at the towering reptilian and kept eating his dinner calmly. Thanks for the warning, he said. See you in class tomorrow. The practical xenobiology classroom was different from the regular lecture halls. It was bigger, with reinforced walls made of some kind of clear metal. Safety barriers could drop from the ceiling at a moment's notice, and emergency exits were marked with bright lights. Most importantly, there was an observation deck above the main floor where students could watch demonstrations from behind protective glass. When Taeho arrived that morning, he noticed that many students were already seated in the observation area. Only a few brave souls sat in the main classroom. Professor Naldoran was checking safety systems with 2 security officers who wore heavy armor and carried weapons Taeho didn't recognize. Vextar was nowhere to be seen, but there was a large metal container in the corner of the room. It was roughly the size of a small car and had warning symbols all over its surface. Strange scratching sounds came from inside, along with what sounded like deep, angry breathing. Taeho chose a seat in the front row of the main classroom. Yimtal hurried over to him, looking very worried. Please come up to the observation deck, the small furry student whispered urgently. It's not safe down here. I'll be fine, Taeho said calmly. No, you don't understand, Yimtal said. That container holds a shadow maw. They are killers that exist only to hunt. Even looking at one makes most species panic with fear. It's biological. We can't help it. Taeho patted Yimtal's shoulder gently. Thank you for worrying about me, but I need to stay here. Yimtal stared at him for a moment, then shook his head and ran up to the observation deck. A few minutes later, Vextar entered the classroom with his 2 clutchmates. All 3 Saurids wore protective gear and carried control devices. Vextar looked around the room and smiled when he saw Taeho sitting alone in the front row. Good morning, class, Professor Naldoran said, its voice coming from speakers around the room. Today we will observe predator behavior in a controlled environment. Student Vextar has brought a specimen from his homeworld for demonstration. That's right, Vextar said loudly. Today you will see what a real predator looks like, not some soft prey animal that thinks it's dangerous. He looked directly at Taeho. This is a shadow maw, one of the apex predators from Saurus Prime. It has never been defeated by any other creature. The scratching sounds from the container grew louder, and something heavy slammed against the inside walls. All students except the volunteer observer should move to the safe viewing area, Professor Naldoran announced. The few remaining students in the main classroom quickly moved upstairs. Taeho stayed in his seat. Are you sure about this, human? Taeho? The professor asked. This demonstration can be quite intense for species not accustomed to apex predators. I'm sure, Taeho replied. Vextar's smile grew wider. Excellent. Then let us begin. He activated his control device, and the metal container began to open. Heavy locks disengaged with loud clicks. The scratching sound stopped suddenly, replaced by an ominous silence. The front panel of the container fell away. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, something moved in the darkness inside. The shadow maw emerged like a living nightmare. It stood nearly 6 feet tall but looked much larger because of its 4 muscular arms. Its skin was black as space, seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Curved claws extended from each hand, easily as long as kitchen knives. Its head was elongated, with rows of sharp teeth visible even when its mouth was closed. But the most frightening thing about the creature was its eyes. They glowed with a pale yellow light and seemed to look directly into the soul of anyone who met its gaze. The moment it appeared, every student in the observation deck made sounds of terror. Some cried out, others simply whimpered. Even through the protective glass and barriers, the creature's presence triggered deep instinctual fear. Tae-ho felt it too. Something ancient in his brain screamed at him to run, to hide, to get away from this perfect killing machine as fast as possible. Instead, he stayed in his seat and continued taking notes. The shadow maw looked around the room slowly. Its glowing eyes passed over the observation deck, causing more cries of fear from the students above. Then its gaze fixed on the main classroom floor. On Tae-ho. Fascinating, Vextar said, his voice full of satisfaction. Notice how the predator immediately identifies the prey animal in the room. This is instinctual behavior that has been refined over millions of years of evolution. The shadow maw began moving toward Tae-ho. It didn't walk so much as flow across the floor, its 4 arms helping it move with disturbing grace. Each step was completely silent despite the creature's size. Professor Naldoran's voice came over the speakers. Student Tae-ho, if you feel any discomfort, please signal immediately for extraction to the safe area. Tae-ho looked up from his notes. I'm fine, Professor. This is very educational. The shadow maw was now only 10 feet away, close enough that Tae-ho could see the details of its alien features. Its breathing was slow and deep, and he could smell something like burning metal coming from its body. Observe the prey animal's response, Vextar continued his commentary. Notice the tension in its posture, the rapid breathing, the frozen state that comes before panic. This is how all prey species react when faced with a true apex predator. But Tae-ho wasn't breathing rapidly. His posture wasn't tense. If anything, he looked more relaxed than when he'd first sat down. The shadow maw moved closer. 5 feet away now. Its claws extended fully, each one gleaming despite the creature's light-absorbing skin. In the observation deck above, some students had covered their eyes and were trying not to look. Any moment now, Vextar said confidently, the human will break. The instinctual fear will overcome his rational mind and he will panic. This is the natural order of the galaxy. 4 feet away, the shadow maw raised one of its 4 arms, claws pointing toward Tae-ho's chest. 3 feet away, the creature's glowing eyes locked onto Tae-ho's face and its mouth opened slightly, revealing even more razor-sharp teeth. 2 feet away, close enough that Tae-ho could have reached out and touched it, the shadow maw prepared to strike, demonstrating the perfect predator-prey dynamic that Vexatar wanted everyone to see. Then Tae-ho looked up from his notes and smiled. It wasn't a frightened smile or a nervous smile. It wasn't the kind of smile someone gives when they're trying to hide their fear. It was the kind of smile a person gives when they see something interesting, something they recognize. The shadow maw's raised arm stopped in midair. Its glowing eyes widened slightly, and for the first time since emerging from its container, the perfect predator hesitated. In the observation deck, students stopped crying and started staring. Something was wrong with the demonstration. This wasn't how prey animals were supposed to behave. Vextar's confident commentary stopped abruptly. He looked from his control device to the shadow maw to Tae-ho, trying to understand what was happening. Professor Naldoran's light form flickered with what might have been confusion, and Tae-ho, still smiling that strange smile, calmly closed his notebook and stood up. The shadow maw, apex predator of an entire world, killer that had never known fear or doubt, took a step backward. Very interesting, Tae-ho said in a conversational tone, as if he were discussing the weather. You know, this reminds me of something. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small device, the holographic projector Jinwoo had sent him. Professor, would it be all right if I shared some information about human evolution? I think it might be relevant to today's lesson. The Shadow Maw took another step back, its forearms now held defensively instead of aggressively. For the first time in its life, it was experiencing something completely foreign to its nature. It was feeling like prey. Taeho activated the holographic projector, and the air above it shimmered. Images began to appear, ancient scenes from Earth's history that seemed impossible to the watching alien students. The first image showed a group of early humans tracking a massive woolly mammoth across frozen grasslands. The humans looked tiny compared to the giant creature, but they followed it relentlessly day after day, until the exhausted animal could no longer run. Humans are persistence hunters, Taeho explained calmly, still standing just 2 feet away from the Shadow Maw. The alien predator remained frozen in place, its glowing eyes fixed on him with something that looked like growing alarm. We're not the fastest or the strongest, but we have one advantage that most predators don't. The hologram changed, showing another scene. This time it was human hunters following a pride of lions across the African savanna. The lions would run, rest, run again. The humans just kept walking, never stopping, never giving up. We never quit, Taeho said. When we decide to hunt something, we follow it until it dies of exhaustion, or we do. Vextar found his voice. Impossible. Humans are prey animals, look at them. No claws, no fangs, no armor. Taeho glanced at the Saurid but kept most of his attention on the Shadow Maw. You're right that we don't have natural weapons. We had to make our own. The hologram showed new images. Stone spears, bone knives, fire being used to drive animals into traps. Then metal weapons, guns, more sophisticated tools. But the interesting thing isn't our tools, Taeho continued. It's what we hunted with them. The images that followed made several students in the observation deck gasp in shock. Humans killing creatures that dwarf them in size and strength. Cave bears twice as tall as a man. Saber-toothed cats with fangs longer than human arms. Giant ground sloths the size of small buildings. These all lived on Earth once, Taeho said. They were all bigger than us, stronger than us, better armed than us. He paused and looked directly at the Shadow Maw. Where are they now? The alien. Predator's breathing had become faster, shallower. It was still backing away, step by step. They're extinct, Taeho answered his own question. We killed them all. The hologram shifted to show modern scenes. Humans swimming with great white, sharks completely unafraid, humans tracking tigers through jungles, humans diving with killer whales. Even the animals that still exist on Earth fear us now, Taeho said. Tigers run when they see humans. Sharks change direction when humans enter the water. Bears avoid human settlements. He reached into his bag and pulled out a fossilized skull, one of the items Jinwoo had sent. It was massive, with teeth like daggers. This is from a creature called a dire wolf, he said, holding it up for everyone to see. It was bigger than any wolf alive today, with jaws that could crush bones. They hunted in packs and dominated their ecosystem. He set the skull down on his desk with a soft click. We killed them all too. The Shadow Maw was now pressed against the far wall of the classroom. Its forearms were wrapped around its body in a defensive posture that looked almost like it was, trying to make itself smaller. Professor Naldoran's voice came over the speakers, sounding amazed. Student Taeho, are you saying that humans are responsible for mass extinctions on their homeworld? Not on purpose at first, Taeho replied. We just outcompeted everything else. When two species try to fill the same niche, one survives and one doesn't. On Earth, we always survived. The hologram showed new images now, graphs and charts displaying extinction rates over the past few thousand years. The numbers were staggering. In the last 500 years alone, humans have caused the extinction of over 1,000 species of large animals, Taeho said matter-of-factly. Not because we needed to eat them all, but just because we were better at surviving than they were. Vextar was staring at the holograms with his mouth open. This cannot be true. If humans were such efficient killers, why do they look so weak? Teho turned to face the Saurid directly. As he did, something changed in his posture. His shoulders squared, his stance widened. The easy smile never left his face, but somehow it became something else entirely. "We look weak because we don't need to look strong," he said. "When you're the apex predator on your world, you don't need to intimidate anything. You just need to outlast it." He took a step toward Vextar. The massive Saurid actually moved backward. "You want to know what makes humans different from other species?" Teho asked. "We're cooperative persistence predators. We work together to hunt things bigger and stronger than we are, and we never give up until they're dead." The hologram showed one final image, a map of Earth showing the spread of human civilization over time. Every continent, every ecosystem, every environment on the planet. "We didn't just survive in one type of environment," Teho said. "We conquered them all. Frozen Arctic, burning deserts, deep jungles, high mountains. There's nowhere on our world that humans haven't learned to live and hunt." He looked around the room, making eye contact with students in the observation deck. "Earth isn't a safe world where weak prey animals could survive," he said quietly. "Earth is a death world where everything is trying to kill everything else. We survived there because we became better at killing than anything else." The Shadow Maw made a sound, a low whimper that no one in the room had ever heard from an apex predator before. It was the sound of something that had suddenly realized it was no longer at the top of the food chain. Teho turned back to face the creature. When he spoke again, his voice was gentle, almost kind. "You're beautiful," he said to the Shadow Maw. "Perfect design, perfect instincts. On your world, nothing could challenge you." He paused. "But you're not on your world anymore." He took another step forward. The Shadow Maw pressed itself harder against the wall, trying to get away. "The thing is," Teho continued conversationally, "you remind me of something we had on Earth. We called them cave bears. Same size as you, same hunting instincts, same apex predator confidence." He smiled that strange smile again. "We used to hunt them for fun." The silence in the room was complete. Even the Shadow Maw had stopped whimpering. Teho reached into his bag one more time and pulled out a photograph. It was old and faded, showing a group of humans standing over the body of a massive bear. "My great-grandfather took this picture," he said. 5 humans, 1 bear. The bear was bigger, stronger, had better weapons." He looked at the photograph fondly. "It never had a chance." He set the photograph down next to the fossil skull and looked up at the observation deck. "Any questions about human evolution?" The silence in the classroom stretched on for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. Every student, every professor, even the security officers were staring at Teho with expressions of shock, disbelief, and something that looked like fear. The Shadow Maw, still pressed against the far wall, began making a new sound. It was soft and rhythmic, almost like purring, but different. Teho recognized it immediately from his studies. "It's submitting," he said quietly. "That's a submission vocalization." Professor Naldoran's light form flickered rapidly. "Impossible. Shadow Maws have never displayed submission behavior to any species. They are apex predators." "They were apex predators," Teho corrected gently. "But apex is relative. On their world, they were the best hunters. Here, meeting a species from a death world." He shrugged. "Instinct is still instinct, even for perfect predators." The creature slowly lowered itself to the ground, all 4 arms stretched out in front of it. Its glowing eyes remained fixed on Teho, but now they held something that looked almost like respect. Vextar found his voice, though it sounded much smaller than before. "This is some kind of trick. Humans cannot be apex predators. Look at them." Teho turned to face the Saurid. The movement was casual, unhurried, but somehow it made Vexitar take another step backward. "You keep saying that," Teho said with that same easy smile. "But you're missing something important about evolution." He gestured to the Shadow Maw, still crouched submissively on the floor. "This creature evolved to be a perfect solo hunter. Strong, fast, deadly. On a world where prey animals were small and weak, that was enough. The hologram projector activated again, showing new images, Earth's landscapes, but this time focusing on the animals. Earth had different rules. Tejo continued. Our prey animals weren't small and weak. Mammoths, giant bison, cave bears, saber-toothed cats. Everything was huge and dangerous. Solo hunters couldn't handle them. The images showed early humans working together, using tools, coordinating attacks on massive creatures. So we evolved. Differently. We kept our pack hunting instincts but developed something new. Cooperative intelligence. We could plan, communicate, adapt our strategies in real time. Quillis, the insectoid student, spoke up from the observation deck. Its translated voice sounded amazed. Fascinating. Humans exhibit apex predator neural patterns combined with pack cooperation behaviors. This combination is theoretically impossible. Not impossible, Tejo said. Just rare. Most species go one way or the other. Either cooperative herbivores or solitary predators. We went both ways. He looked around the room, noting how every student was hanging on his words now. The result was persistence hunting. We didn't need to be faster than a mammoth. We just needed to be smarter and more persistent. We would track it for days, weeks if necessary, taking turns so we never got tired. Eventually, the mammoth would collapse from exhaustion, and we would finish it. Professor Nalduran's voice held a note of scientific fascination. And this behavior pattern continued as your species developed technology? It got more efficient, Tejo said. Better tools, better communication, better strategies. But the basic pattern stayed the same. Identify target, pursue relentlessly, adapt as needed, never give up until target is eliminated. He paused, looking thoughtful. We did it so well that we accidentally eliminated most of our planet's megafauna. We were just too good at persistence hunting. Yimtal called down from the observation deck. But humans seem so peaceful now. You trade with other species, you share technology. You help build schools like this one. Tejo's smile became warmer, more genuine. That's the other part of our evolution. We learned that cooperation works better than competition for some things. We fight when we need to, but we prefer to work together when we can. He gestured to the still submitting Shadow Maw. This creature only knows how to hunt and kill, that's all it was designed for. Humans learn to hunt and kill, but we also learn to build, explore, create, and cooperate. We're more flexible. Vextar, who had been growing quieter and smaller throughout the explanation, finally spoke up. So, humans are not prey animals. No, Tejo said simply. We never were. But you have no natural weapons, Thresk protested weakly. Tejo tapped his temple. This is our natural weapon. Problem-solving intelligence combined with social cooperation. It's more dangerous than any claw or fang because it can adapt to any situation. He reached into his bag and pulled out one more item. A simple stone. Spearhead. Our ancestors made this 50,000 years ago, he said, holding it up. Same basic design we use today for advanced projectile weapons, just made with different materials. We've been perfecting the art of killing dangerous things from a safe distance for longer than most species have existed. Professor Naldoran was taking rapid notes with devices that appeared from thin air around its light form. This explains many anomalies we've observed in human behavior patterns, the calmness under pressure, the analytical approach to dangerous situations, the persistent problem-solving even in the face of seemingly impossible odds. Exactly, Tejo said. What looks like bravery to you is just normal behavior for us. When humans see a dangerous predator, we don't think I should run away. We think, how can I kill this thing? The Shadow Maw made another soft submission sound. Tejo walked over to it slowly, his movements calm and non-threatening. It's okay, he said gently to the creature. I'm not going to hurt you. You're not really prey. You're just not used to meeting something higher up the food chain. He knelt down next to the massive predator and slowly reached out his hand. The Shadow Maw didn't move away. Instead, it carefully pressed its head against Tejo's palm, still making those soft submission sounds. Beautiful creature, Tejo murmured, gently stroking the space between its glowing eyes. perfect for its environment, just not designed to meet persistence hunters. The entire classroom watched in stunned silence as one of the galaxy's most feared predators acted like a tame pet around the human student. Vextar's voice was barely above a whisper. I apologize, human Teho. I did not understand what your species truly was. Teho looked up at the Saurid, still petting the Shadow Maw. That's okay. Most species in the galaxy evolved as either predators or prey. The idea of cooperative persistence hunters is probably pretty foreign to you. He stood up slowly. The Shadow Maw remained crouched on the floor, but turned its head to keep watching him. Besides, Teho continued, I learned something too. You brought this creature here to demonstrate predator superiority, which shows that Saurids understand and respect strength. That's actually pretty admirable. Vextar straightened slightly, looking surprised at the compliment. The difference is, Teho said with that calm smile, humans don't usually need to demonstrate our predator abilities. We prefer to keep them hidden unless we need them. He looked around the room one more time, making eye contact with students throughout the observation deck. We've learned that it's usually better for everyone if other species see us as harmless. It makes cooperation easier, trade more profitable, and diplomacy more successful. We only show our true nature when someone really insists on seeing it. Professor Naldoran's voice held a note of understanding, which explains why humans have been so successful at integrating into galactic society, despite being newcomers. Other species are comfortable around what they perceive as harmless prey animals. Exactly, Teho said. It's not deception exactly. We really do prefer cooperation to conflict. But if someone pushes hard enough, he gestured to the Shadow Maw, still crouched submissively on the floor. Well, they might discover that the harmless prey animal is actually an apex predator that's just been playing nice. The class period was almost over. Students began filing out of the observation deck, talking in hushed, amazed voices. Many stopped to stare at Teho and the Shadow Maw before leaving. As Vextar prepared to return his creature to its container, he approached Teho hesitantly. Human Teho, he said formally, I would like to learn more about your species' hunting techniques. Perhaps we could study together sometime? Teho smiled, his normal friendly smile this time. I'd like that, and you can call me Teho. After the Shadow Maw was safely contained and the classroom had cleared, Professor Naldoran approached Teho. That was educational, the light being said. I believe we may need to revise several sections of our xenobiology curriculum. Happy to help, Teho said, packing his materials back into his bag. Though you might want to warn other professors about making assumptions based on appearance. A lot of species are going to be very surprised when they learn the truth about humans. As he walked toward the door, Professor Naldoran called after him. Student Teho, what should we tell species who ask about human predator capabilities? In the future? Teho paused at the doorway and looked back with that familiar calm smile. Tell them the truth, he said. Humans are persistence hunters from a death world. We're friendly and cooperative because we choose to be, not because we have to be. And if someone really wants to test our predator instincts, he shrugged casually. Well, they should make sure they're prepared for the results.